Okay, everybody. Happy Taco Tuesday. 10 cents first. Who's on second? So, it's going to be a hard one today. The humidity's really bad here today. So, I'm going to I'm gonna go do two shows. 'Cause tomorrow, I got to do a shopping day tomorrow. So, I might have the late one tomorrow night. Might be a night show tomorrow at 7. So, tomorrow's payday. That's why we'll get a lot. We'll get a lot out today, and we got a new. Finally, we got Wendy from Newsforce, you guys. She came out late last night, an hour video, but I want to save that one for tonight. So make sure everybody gets here on tonight's show. 'Cause everybody's at work right now, and thanks for a couple more new subs I got the last couple of days. So now we need to get 30 more, you guys, and I'll have the 2,000 subs. Be nice to get that. I did have 2,000 a while back. And Dave, I don't know if you heard what I just said. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Ariella's here. Hey. Yeah, what I was saying is, it's, I got a lot. Billy Bean came out with a 20-minute one, her first one. Then the News Force Wendy is an hour, but I'm going to save that one for tonight. So make sure everybody comes back and we'll play that one tonight. And then Cash has a big update on a video that's 20 minutes. Um, I got a lot of short ones too I want to get out. There's a couple comps in last night's game last night. I don't know if anybody caught that, but Mel, credit to Mel, she had a couple photos she found. And when they were doing the national anthem, so that's what I'm saying. There was a couple comps in that last night. But yeah, once again, thanks for the new subs. We got a couple subs there, and hopefully we can get 30 more subs, and we'll be at 2,000. Never would have imagined that. Okay. Yeah, right now it's 82 plus humidity, I think. Sounds good, Kay. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. I know a lot of people are working. Hopefully they're all listening. Appreciate it. Hopefully Lucy got my notification. I talked to her this morning. So Protest breaks out. So we're going to play the short clips from last night and stuff. I got two cat lady videos too already. So the first one. Come on. Yeah.
Hollywood Casino.
Brush stripes and bright stars.
Watch this and listen, you guys, on this one here.
Perilous fights. These brush stripes and bright stars.
That's not him, that's him.
So last night that was a calm on who was singing the national anthem. They think that was AI or whatever it's called. That was that one. I had some other ones here. Where is it? Here's a clip from last night at the White House. And Lizzie Mom, hopefully listening. This was last night. Did anybody catch that? Yeah, I got a few more. I got like 6 more I got to share real quick on these ones here.
Quick video time. If you've been watching Absolute Storm for the last couple of months, we've been talking about this specific period of time around Donald Trump's birthday and the UFC fight and those 10 days around that, then going into FIFA and POTUS's flight for the G7 summit. Okay, so we got some really interesting hits today. All right, so the first one, FCC, has got the EAS warning emergency alert system put out today, 6/8/26. At the same time, an hour later, we have CNN posting about the UFC fight, and you can see the panels going up for, in the background there, and the big panels here. They're doing the tests on the video boards, but it's you can see that it has the emergency broadcast system testing. Okay, whether that's just them doing a walkthrough or not, it's still there. Those are real signals. Okay. Then we have the World Cup. This one was put together by Leon Askew. We have Northern Command posting about FIFA June 11th through July 19th. Okay. Posted at 3:06. Well, Leanne put it together that that's the exact timestamp in the main queue 2320 that talks about the POTUS alert system right there, wireless emergency alert system. So that's a dead hit. Then we have Kash Patel, again, talking about tactical teams for the World Cup, and he's posting at 2:38 p.m. Take that to military time. That gets you to 14:38. Attacks anticipated. Okay, so we have alert
You guys
comms
see these clips?
and attacks anticipated all around these different events. So we'll just have to see what happens. But we have a long dig that we're going to show on tomorrow, 6 p.m. Absolute Storm, going through a lot of this and much, much more. But we've been talking about it for a couple of months, this particular time period, and we are here. And you can see the comms are just right off the charts. So we'll see you then.
Okay, I got one more.
Around Donald Trump's birthday and the UFC.
I guess that's the same one, you guys. I thought that was a different one. Well, actually, yeah. We'll go,
He said, and I'm quoting, "Tell the bow tie I'm not home."
I can see him through the window, Melania. He's on the couch, eating McDonald's, looking right at me.
I'm not here.
Donald, you went on Truth Social and called me a failed host with a dying show 14 times in one night. I think we should talk.
You went on your show and apologized for telling people to vote for me. You apologize for me, Tucker, like I'm a bad decision, like I'm a tattoo people regret.
I said what I believe, Donald.
You believed in me for 3 years and then unbelieved on a Tuesday. That's not journalism. That's a breakup. You broke up with me on your podcast, Tucker, in front of millions of people.
He cried that night.
I did not cry.
He watched your clip 4 times and threw a pillow at the television.
That pillow was defective. It was already heading toward the TV.
Tucker, you want to come in or not? There's McDonald's. But you're not getting the nuggets. Those are mine. You lost nugget privileges when you lost faith in your president.
Fair enough.
I'll get plates and another pillow, just in case.
that was funny. Okay, I got a couple photos here. Everybody's saying Israel for last, so what's how the guy just said, there's the comms and everything coming out. Okay, I think this is the last one here. There's another comm. What do you guys think on that one there? Okay, we'll start doing the 2-minute clips here. It's Dorito time.
generic Viagra. Driverless taxis around town, that's becoming more common for Americans. But now delivery trucks are going autonomous as well. PepsiCo is sending Doritos to the store with absolutely not a soul behind the wheel. Nick's here with the details on this. I mean, this is just interesting. Look over in the lane next to you.
Yes.
Nobody behind the wheel. Pepsi says this is the largest deployment of its kind. They've poured hundreds of millions of dollars into this tech.
And plan to spend more, Marky. And to
Yeah.
be completely transparent, I have been a rider in one of those autonomous vehicles, but
It's kind of
nothing
freaky,
like this.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's definitely interesting. And can you imagine riding on the highway, you look over at a truck and there's no one behind the wheel? That could be
Going
the future
75
that we're
miles an
facing
hour.
right
Yeah.
ahead now. $600 million, that's what we're talking about. Pepsi is the first major U.S. consumer goods company to launch a full-scale operation for autonomous delivery vehicles. Snack lovers in Texas, Arizona, and Arkansas, the next time you pick up soda and chips at a convenience store or supermarket, it may have been delivered by a driverless truck. PepsiCo's full-scale driverless delivery system expands a deal with autonomous trucking company Gotic. The two companies started working together back in 2022 and have more than 40 trucks on the roads. Gotic says they're just getting started. These trucks are transporting favorites like Doritos, Cheetos, and Lay's chips, along with Pepsi soft drinks and Gatorade from bottling plants or storage areas to local stores. Now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that there are at least 9 other autonomous trucking companies operating in the southern United States, but most of those still have humans behind the wheel to monitor the vehicle. These Gotic-backed trucks do not. Since driverless vehicles came on the market, the technology and their uses have only increased. And it's big business in the United States. Yahoo Finance reports that the autonomous vehicle market is expected to more than triple by 2034. Now, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters has lobbied several states to require a trained human operator in any autonomous vehicle used to deliver commercial goods, because they're like, wait a minute, we want to keep an eye on these jobs. We
Yes.
understand technology, but we still would like to have a human behind that wheel.
Yeah, and I wonder if society is ever fully comfortable or accepting of it. That's
I'll
gonna be
just tell you
interesting
this,
to see by 2034 what that landscape actually
The conversation
looks like.
in the newsroom has definitely been those who
Yeah,
said,
figure
Nick, I'm
that
not
out.
getting in a vehicle that does not have somebody behind
Yeah.
that wheel.
Whatever
So-
it takes to get Cool Ranch Doritos, though. Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Okay, just saying. Nick, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below.
Okay, we got a couple other short ones here. Our first one on the cat lady.
President Trump has just come out and announced that the Iranians, with their little handheld motherfucking missiles, the little shoulder things, I believe is what they said, is the one that shot down our helicopter over the strait. Woo! Like a virgin. Y'all know how y'all been wanting them virgins? Oh, but you fisting to get them. You fisting to get them because he's fisting to blow you motherfuckers off the map. And I, for one, cannot wait. And all for the little crybaby liberals that go, you want the women and the children to be, Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I just said. Anyway, guys, how is your day going? TikTok removed me from the Creator Reward Fund, the program where once you start getting followers and once you start getting interactions, all of a sudden they cut you off for no reason. You just get an email saying you've been disqualified. due to their standards. Now, we all know what their standards are. You can sit on a toilet and whack off to music playing if you're a guy, finish, TikTok, no violations found.
I
You
haven't
can
heard yet, but I got
comment
other
on that
videos,
video and
Paul.
say, you are a
I'll
sick
check on
fuck.
it.
Your comment has been removed. How dare you? You have violated our standards. Well, I just made a little skit about it. I'm sure I'm never going to get my little program back, which is fine. So guess what, guys? I have to make money to provide for these animals. So I told you I'd never sell from the TikTok shop because of how they have done us conservatives, but I will be an Amazon affiliate coming soon. Anyway, hang tight. Iran's fixing to meet its maker, the Iran regime, not the women and the children.
So the guy that we played with the military has one out. We'll be playing that later. Maybe I don't know if that's to deal with something with that or what. All right, Kay. Here's the other one.
Attention that you are not being a team player here at TikTok. Apparently you're not meeting your violation quota. That we're not understanding what's going on. When I was hired here, I was told that you hired people from both sides to keep things fair. As far as I have seen, especially at lunch and after our events, I'm the only conservative here. And I feel like everything I put forward is being shot down by you guys. I don't see where this person did anything wrong. I've looked at the videos. I mean, there's so much more content out there worse. If things do not straighten up, you can pack your bags and you can head over to Truth Social or you can head over to Costco. With that said, we have some things to review this morning, some appeals. So, Lucretia, what do you have for us today? Oh, I've taken 3 enemas. It still won't come out. And she told me that it was only going to be up there for a little bit and that it would slide right out. And it hasn't slid right out. And I'm never doing that again. Lucretia? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we have this Trump supporting person who's been posting videos. Her content is starting to reach out, even though we're doing our best to not push it out. And she's gaining followers and suggests that we cut her account off. That's at least what I suggest. Her followers are increasing, they're organic. We can't have this.
Thanks,
Wait, let me ask
Angie.
you, is she showing her vagina? No, there's no vagina ever being shown. He praising Mondami? He absolutely detests Mondami. In fact, she insisted that he was the Antichrist. That's all I need to know. So what I need you to do is I need you to remove her from the Creative Rewards Program. Okay? Okay. I'll deal with you in a minute, Marcy. I want you to remove her. Don't give her a reason. Just send her an email that says, you have now been disqualified. Okay? And I can't wait till she appeals it. I cannot wait. What we're going to do is we're going to just leave it. We're going to let her just sweat it out. Anytime you see a conservative who is reaching more followers and they are at the point where their videos are being pushed out a little bit and they seem they're going to be making some more money, bam, we want to cut them off immediately. You don't have to give any reason. You just say you violated our standards. You cut them off from the program. We are not here to make conservatives money. We are here to make the left money. Okay? Is that clear, everybody? Okay.
Okay, that's 2 so far today. We'll have 5 more later. I got a couple more short ones, and then we'll do the first Billy Bean video. 20 minutes. Maybe Billy will probably say something there, Paul, on her video.
documented Israel's use of white phosphorus over populated areas in Lebanon amid its renewed conflict with Hezbollah. Now, white phosphorus is a substance that burns at 800 degrees centigrade or 1,470 degrees Fahrenheit. And you may not have heard loads about this for two main reasons. First is its historic use by many countries, and second is it sits in a legal loophole. Its use has been documented this year near Nabatea, which is a city of roughly 40,000 people in Lebanon. Israel says it's using it for smoke screens, a common military purpose. Human Rights Watch says that recent use over residential areas is unlawful. And the risk is why this matters. So the WHO says that white phosphorus can cause deep burns, organ failure, lung and eye damage, and systemic effects like cardiovascular collapse. This is not theoretical either, because previous uses in southern Lebanon have injured civilians and sent many others for treatment after exposure. The element was discovered in 1669 by German alchemist Henning Brand, who isolated it from urine while searching for the philosopher's stone. It was later reportedly weaponized by the Fenians, Irish nationalist militants in the 19th century, and the name was given to it, Fenian fire. The British Army introduced factory-built white phosphorus grenades in 1916. It was used in World War II, and since then it's been used by the US in Vietnam, Fallujah and Mosul, by Russia in Chechnya, by Britain in the Falklands, and repeatedly by Israel. In Lebanon in 2006, in Gaza 2008 and 9, Lebanon from 2023, and reportedly now in 2026. So what's this legal loophole that I mentioned? So the Chemical Weapons Convention does not usually cover white phosphorus because it targets weapons whose primary harm comes through toxic chemical action. White phosphorus is classified for smoke signaling or incendiary effects. There's another relevant thing here, and it is Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. Very wordy, but very important. And that restricts incendiary weapons near civilians, but it exempts munitions whose incendiary effects are classed as incidental, like smoke or signaling systems, and that is the loophole. And Israel has never ratified the Chemical Weapons Convention, and it hasn't joined Protocol 3, which is that protocol designed to restrict the weapons that burn. Lebanon and Palestine have signed up to Protocol 3. But regardless of these conventions, the laws of war still apply: distinction, proportionality, and the duty to minimize civilian harm. The New York Times.
Okay, our regular one we always play today. And we got one more short one, and then we'll get a 20-minute Billy. And then we'll get a couple Trish videos coming up after. Oh, they're not going to let me play this one. We'll play this one. I got 3 of her. We haven't played. She finally got some video clips out.
Loves you so much that he will burn you up for not loving him back. And it's pretty simple, actually, because he created you as a sinner because he loves you and he hates sin. Okay, so he decided what was a sin and then put it inside you, and then you got to get it out, right? So he said, I'll send my son and kill him because the sin I put in you, I hate it, and I'll burn you up for it. And so he sent his son and then killed him so he could get rid of the sin that he put in you because he hates it. But listen, because he loves you. And so he knew, though, when he killed his son, that his son wasn't really dead. He was going to come back again. And when he came back, he was only going to be dead for 3 days. And from Friday night to early Sunday morning, it's 3 days, no matter what you can count. And so he knew that when he killed his son, he was only going to be dead for the 3 days and he was going to come right back. So he was like, listen, son, you only got to die for a little while, but you can go to hell and get the keys to the pearly gates because they're locked. Because security, the devil had already been in heaven, okay, and he got kicked out, so they had to put the gates up and lock it. And that's where the keys was at. The devil had the keys to the gate. And Jesus had to go down there and get him. And he got him and brought him back, and he's in heaven with him. And he's going to come back for us when he gets done building our mansions, because he's the great carpenter. And that's why he had to come to earth to learn how to do carpentry work so he can build our mansions and we can go and be with him. And it's honestly really pretty simple. But yes, he loves you so much that he put sin in your heart that he hates so that you could burn if you don't love him back. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's a different one she normally does. I got one more with her than Billy. It's 4 minutes. Trying to get a long one. I don't think we played this one.
Just made. And I don't make religious videos. You guys know that I'm a truther. I push truth. I go down rabbit holes, and I try to tell the public what I find and what I've known for years. Of course, they violate me all the time. But anyways, this is in regards to my last one. I don't want Christians to think that I'm trying to degrade you or down you or whatever. I was a Christian, okay, until I started looking into the old original Bible and doing a lot of comparing and realizing how much it's been changed up. Okay, a lot of people are reading the King James version of the Bible. I don't know if you know anything about King James, but if you don't, you probably want to do some research and understand how much he loved to control the population. And twisting minds is a great way to do it. And not telling the truth is another great way to do it, okay? Friday evening into Saturday evening, that's our holy day, is Saturday, the 7th day. All right. I don't know why any Christians are going to church on Sunday. I don't know why we don't work on Sunday. And then people want to praise and worship the Messiah on a Sunday. I find that mind-boggling. Okay, maybe because these are Christians that haven't woken up yet. I don't know. That's why you should probably go check into the original Bible. Our holy day is Saturday. Okay, we're not supposed to work on Saturday.
You guys okay with her,
Friday at sunset into Saturday at sunset, that is Shabbat. And that is when we are not supposed to work. We pull out our Bibles. We praise the Messiah. We read the Bible. That's when we're supposed to have our downtime and our holy time. So if you're a true Christian, you probably should be following him correctly, right? So now that you know that, you should probably go to church on Saturday if you're going to go to church. Of course, Yeshua HaMashiach didn't speak anything about churches.
Yeah, she
we
does.
have them today, and I
stuff.
won't get into what I think about them. But money, money, money. But you probably should be praising him like the original times, right? If we're going to do it the right way, or why do it at all? I mean, we should be praising and praying to him 7 days a week. But if you're going to pick a day to go to church or whatever, it probably should be on the holy day, which is Saturday. It's Friday evening, is Shabbat, is when it starts, until Saturday evening, sundown to sundown. That's when our holy day really is. King James version of the Bible has got a lot of things twisted up in different aspects. Now, the one thing that is correct is that he says that, you know, he was crucified and he rose 3 days later. Yes, 3 days later. He was crucified right before Shabbat happened on Friday evening. And there were 3 markers. And on the 3rd marker, when they went back to check on him Sunday morning, the tomb was empty. Okay, so that is the 3rd day. It's not 3 24-hour like we do today. You know, we have today 24 hours is a full day. That's not how it was back then. He was crucified on a Friday evening, and the tomb was empty on a Sunday morning. He was not there when they went back to check on the 3rd marker. So King James was right about the 3rd day. It just wasn't 3 24 hours, 72 hours, basically. But a lot of the stuff is different, and I can't even. I could sit here for days, and I'm not going to do that. But I'm just making this video quickly to let you guys know you probably should start going to church on Saturday, because if not, I mean, who are you following? Have a great night.
Okay, yep. She had two different subjects that she don't normally do. Okay, Billy Bean time. 20 minutes. Arrow.
Browser fast. Make your browser safe.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean, a flash update, June 9, 2026, time in Texas, about 10 a.m. Some of the things we'll cover: Earth wobble and tropical storms in the Pacific, and what this means with the El Nino, and the world. No oil. Is that coming? President Trump brings about denaturalization of individuals who've come from foreign countries, went through the citizenship process to become American citizens. But under U.S. law, they can be denaturalized. We have this in the UK. We have an illegal trying to behead a citizen of Ireland. UK Starmer says it's not terrorism. And Russia, we believe, is prepping for a takedown of Ukraine. So let's get started. So we know yesterday NASA NOAA was predicting a strong G3 geomagnetic storm, which did not materialize, and it's also was predicted to impact the Earth yesterday. It's late, so today it's believed we'll see a much weaker G1 geomagnetic storm. We have had overnight from the sun a C-class flare. So that's going on, and it's believed this G1 will bring auroras in the area of Asia. Now, I've been putting out for several years, we are in the midst of, on Earth, a pole shift and impacts from space that comes about with a 13,000 year cycle. 13,000 years ago would have been the Atlantis event. About 6,000 years ago would have been a lesser event, the flood during Noah's time. Extinction level events. I do not believe we're going to have an extinction level event. I believe that's because the people of God are on Earth right now. But we will see massive things happening to the Earth. I know multiple sources, Mike from around the world, BP Earthwatch, and others that I have used, particularly with doing research about Planet X, a 1,000-year cycle impact on Earth. I believe we're in right now, and that the Earth is currently tilting, which will dramatically change our climate and weather models, ocean levels, and so on. So on YouTube Space Weather site, a paper is out talking about the tilt of Earth. And I believe this wobble of Earth, this tilt of Earth, right now.
We promise a tenfold refund if it doesn't work. Traditional dentures can lead to jawbone loss and all.
Hey, Paul, I think that one I was telling you about, the military guy, he said something about the UK, Iran. Is that the one that something about, but I'm gonna play that one next. I think that might be it.
Alter your facial contour over time, but this denture completely avoids such issues. It can be
is also contributing to what we're seeing in the Pacific, the Super El Nino. And we currently have 2 tropical storms out of the Pacific. We have a Christina and we have a Boris, both of which are predicted to impact Mexico, and I'll show you why. And the long-term prediction for this hurricane season was that we will see, so we have Christina and we have Boris, tropical storms that now are going to be impacting Mexico. Part of the scenario this hurricane season is that it's likely we will see a hurricane impacting California. Why would that be? That's because we have Earth tilt. We have changes in our Earth core and the tilt, the axis of the Earth. I've brought that up before. It's gone historically. The tilt of the Earth was about 23.5 degrees, giving us our seasons. It had been projected to go to 31 degrees. I believe it's tilted much further than that right now. And other changes are taking place. So with the Super El Nino in the Pacific, I believe it's possible for us to see hurricanes hitting the U.S. West Coast. One scenario for this would be we have the Earth tilting, we have the Super El Nino, a dramatic heating up of the ocean temperature in the Pacific, and it's possible we will see a change in our trade winds. Historically, the trade winds operate this way, turning storms away from Mexico and the U.S. West Coast. A model of the Super El Nino indicates that we could see a turning of the trade winds so that this weather is brought back to the U.S. West Coast. So that's going on. And now we know yesterday we had a 6.4 earthquake in Cuba that also was felt in Florida. This earthquake, 6.4, was along a plate edge, and that also goes along with predicted major changes that we could likely see. And we have this. Oh, what's going on with the 7.8 or 8.2 earthquake that hit the Philippines in the past several days? So they had the 8.2 downgraded to a 7.8 earthquake, Philippines. That impacted Mindeo, General Santos area in the Philippines. So since then, we've had reports. They had then a large aftershock of 6.5, and then multiple 4s and 5s. The reporting early this morning, the Philippines have experienced 1,000 aftershocks. They're up to 37 deaths with 250 to 300 people injured, multiple buildings falling down, and a displacement of 10 to 30,000 people. So it would be good to be in prayer for the Philippines because Apparently, this significant earthquake, 8.2, downgraded to 7.8, is along the boundary. Several plates, the Sutra and the Philippine plate. And shaking continues. So we have a massive shake on a building, but that shaking continues. More and more buildings are going to be collapsing, and they're having landslides. So that's going on. Now we have from 2CTV another report. So we saw in London, in England.
She couldn't afford traditional therapy, so she answered a few questions on Teladoc Health to match with the right.
In the past 5 days, an illegal attacking a white teenage boy, Henry Novak, who was stabbed, and the police handcuffed the teenage boy and left him to bleed out on the ground and let the illegals go. Now, a second event has happened in the UK, in Ireland, overnight. An illegal stabbed a citizen of Ireland, tried to behead him. That citizen is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. And Keir Starmer comes out and says, it's not terrorism. So we, the people of the world, can say to Starmer, shut up. So that's going on. And we have also in the U.S., President Trump juicing up the DOJ to denaturalize individuals who've gone through the American citizenship process and to take their citizenship away from them and deport them. The DOJ currently is processing up to 17 individuals, according to Joshua Phillips of Crossroads. Now, several reasons are leading to charges against 17. One of them is defrauding the U.S. government. And we've been seeing many fraud investigations led by Vice President J.D. Vance, Medicare, Medicaid, and other government sources being defrauded, fraud taking place up to billions of dollars by individuals who are from other countries. Some have become U.S. citizens. Also, other individuals to obtain their U.S. citizenship engaged in fraud on their immigration information. One of those individuals would include, I believe, that's Ilhan Omar. I believe she's the individual Somali background who allegedly married her brother so she could get into the country, which of course is illegal. So that would be interesting to see a sitting member of Congress being denaturalized and deported. So that's going on. We have this from U.S. Intel. Now, we've been seeing since this U.S.-Israel-Iran dust-up began that the Strait of Hormuz has been closed, and we're aware that up to 20% of the world's oil is not flowing. J.P. Morgan Chase comes out with this. This would be a banking report reflecting a global group of banks with regard to the oil industry, and says due to the oil not flowing from the Middle East, that we could see such a drop in the oil reserves that refineries on a global basis have to shut down. So JP Morgan Chase is reporting in June, right now, 2026, We have a global oil reserve of 7.7 billion barrels, predicted to go down in July to 7.4 billion barrels. And once it goes much lower than that, refineries on a global basis would have to shut down. That means no gasoline and diesel and jet fuel and home heating oil and so on. So let's pray, and it appears this would be another point of impact on President Trump to wind up the Iran conflict within a month. So we'll see how that goes. Now we have this.
Look here. This isn't just an ordinary denture, but the globally popular Flexible Smart Custom Denture Kit. It's incredibly easy to use. Just soak it in hot water for 1 minute.
So in the past 24 hours, we've been seeing Israel and Iran tossing back hits, which appear to be calmed down right now. Now, President Trump continues to say that a deal is close. From my perspective, I believe the nutballs currently in charge in Iran, the IRGC, I believe that group almost certainly has to be neutralized for the benefit of the people of Iran and for the benefit of the world, because those individuals demonstrate that they are not capable of being, well, let's look at January, February, March. They hired Shia from other nations, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, come into their nation and slaughter the citizens of Iran who dared to rise up against Iran, even though this nutball group in charge have destroyed the economy of Iran. That happened before any conflict took place over the Strait of Hormuz and so on. And the citizens couldn't go to the bank and get money because the IRGC had destroyed the economy of Iran, and they were protesting. So this nutball group, the IRGC, hired Shia mercenaries to come in, shoot down their own citizens with machine guns, and the citizens were unarmed. And my sources indicate this is up to 80,000 Iranian citizens who were shot down in the streets of Iran January, February, and March by this nutball group, the IRGC. 80,000. Most likely 40,000 in Tehran, the capital, and surrounding suburbs, and then another up to 40,000 in other cities in Iran. No, the IRGC, in my opinion, has to be neutralized. So that's going on. So we currently don't see today more flash-ups between Israel and Iran. And we have this, that, yeah. So we have also Iran, the nutball group IRGC, demanding of the U.S. We want $24 billion in our frozen money. We want no sanctions. We want ownership of the Strait of Hormuz. And we will keep our nukes. And of course, President Trump says no. So that's going on. Now it's coming out from, I believe this source was 2CTV, that the nutball group, the IRGC, is also engaging in selling drugs, so they're a cartel. and that Poland seized an IRGC shipment of opium and heroin and have taken possession of it. So that's going on. And we have this from New York Prepper. So we have in the Russia-Ukraine dust-up, we have that NATO shot down a Russian drone over Lithuania. So that's going on. And that the U.S., also part of the U.S. blockade of Iran, have also seized an Iranian tanker. So another one goes down. Now we have some U.S. intel. So Alex Makouras, a European journalist, is currently in Moscow, and he says Moscow is peaceful. You would never know that this war situation was going on in Ukraine and that many parts of Russia were being hit. But we have U.S. intel that President Trump has ended talks between the U.S., Russia, and Russia regarding Ukraine, and that it's now believed that Russia preps, according to the U.S. intel, for a scenario no one officially recognizes. So what could it be that Russia will do that no one inside the Russian government is making public statements officially recognizing? I submit that Russia most likely is going to be using the medium-range Orushnik missiles that are hypersonic to absolutely flatten Kiev and to also engage in massive hits on other parts of Ukraine that Russia intends to take, including Sumy and Odessa. So this concludes my flash. It's good to be in prayer for world peace and also world health. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, Billy Bean, the first one. Now we're going to go do the military guys, see what's going on from last night. Nick came out with a new one.
Over 50 and dreading the first step out of bed? Watch this. Introducing EM Sense, the at-home...
Welcome to the video. It's June 9th, 2026. Just yesterday evening, over the Strait of Hormuz, just after dark, an American AH-64 Apache gunship, one of the most lethal attack helicopters ever built, highly capable, basically like the fighter jet of helicopters, dropped out of the sky and into the Persian Gulf off the coast of Oman. 2 U.S. Army aviators in the water at night inside the most dangerous 20 miles of salt water on the planet right now, with the Iranian coastline close enough to see. And Tehran had already set the tone. They're going to claim it was a shoot down, as they do, but I'm going to get into all of this throughout the video. But coming to the rescue was something you wouldn't expect. A U.S. Navy robot drone boat from Task Force 59 is responsible for finding this crew and helping them get home safely. This is the first time in history, in recorded history, that this has ever happened. This is massive, and we're going to get into that full operation throughout this video. But Iran is now vowing that they will defeat the American blockade. Their newest stunt is the so-called Persian Gulf Strait Authority claiming the choke point sits under their guns, and this Apache crash is something that they're using to try to show that they're actually shooting down U.S. aircraft in the Persian Gulf right now. However, to me, I think there's a little something else going on here, because remember, helicopters basically beat the air into submission to keep flying. So was it some maintenance issue? We're going to get into all of that. But when an Apache goes down into the water in the middle of the night, the question writes itself. Did the Gulf just bite back, or did Iran actually get a lucky shot off? Here's the answer that matters. Both crew members came home safe, stable, not a scratch. President Trump kept it simple. He said the pilots are fine, nobody's injured, and how we got them back is the part that just made military history. Because the United States didn't risk another helicopter to go towards that crash site or another boat that needed to go there and transit through the dangerous Strait of Hormuz. It sent a robot boat. The checkpoint that moves roughly a fifth of the world's oil is basically being harassed right now by Iran's Mosquito fleet, and a ceasefire is holding on by a thread. So we're going to talk about how that operation actually went down, and then we're going to do a global roundup. We're going to cover China shadowing a NATO warship, along with a couple other stories that you need to know. That's about 3/4 of the way through the video, so stay around for that. But let's rewind this, because the order of operations leading up to this Apache crash and rescue tell us basically the whole story. So if we rewind about 36 hours, the sequence here gets wild, because the first time since April 8th's ceasefire, Israel and Iran went back to trading blows, as they do. Iran put missiles towards Israel on Sunday. That was its answer to Israeli strikes on Hezbollah in Beirut. And then Israel answered extremely decisively Monday with fire into western and central Iran, striking down one of the main petrochemical plants that actually creates chemicals for Iran's ballistic missiles. So the truce that we're all calling a ceasefire is basically falling apart like a NASCAR crash at this point, and everybody just can't help but look. That was the backdrop. Now the incident. Monday evening, a U.S. Army AH-64 Apache is patrolling regional waters off the coast of Oman near the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz. These aren't joyrides, obviously. Apaches are out there as part of the operation, keeping that checkpoint open and keeping Iranian oil bottled up. Mid-patrol, the aircraft goes down into the sea. United States Central Command confirmed the crew was recovered within about 2 hours. So they were there for 2 hours, which is just wild. Think about floating around in the Persian Gulf right now for 2 hours. There's mines, there's underwater unmanned vehicles, the most contested sea lane on Earth right now. That was around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Both were recovered, though, in stable condition. The cause is under investigation. Could Iran have gotten a lucky shot off? Highly unlikely, especially because this Apache went down near Oman, which is on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz from Iran. So in my opinion, likely something mechanical. But U.S. officials are openly probing the one possibility that changes everything. Whether Iran fire brought it down, which is of course going to be looked into. Was the AH-64 engaging some fast attack craft? Was the AH-64 striking down some drones? Some of the shrapnel came off one of the drones and was ingested by one of the engines on the Apache. Lots of different things could be happening, so that will all be investigated. So Iran spent the entire night last night promising that they were going to find this crew, have a decisive response to strike them, but the decisive response was actually a Navy robot boat and a 2-hour nice ride home at sunset. But how they pulled those two aviators out of the water without putting another American's lives in danger was pretty exceptional and wild. So picture the tactical problem. You've got a downed crew in open water after dark inside a strait ringed by IRGC fast attack craft, one-way attack drones, sea mines, shore-based anti-ship missiles. Every minute you put a manned rescue helicopter or a boat full of sailors over that water, you're not running one rescue, you're offering Iran potentially a second target, or at least something that they might try to harass. So in a normal war, you kind of eat that risk because there's no other way to get your people back. You're like, all right, well, we got to send people into Iran to get the F-15E Wizzo, but this time there was another way. So let's talk about why the Apache was even there in the first place, and that might give us a little more insight into what was going on during this rescue operation. Because remember, AH-64s and A-10s are there over the Strait of Hormuz right now, flying sorties to try to pry the Strait of Hormuz open, at least pry it open enough to where commercial shipping has a little bit of reassurance and they want to go back through the Strait of Hormuz. That's the big thing, is just reassure people that there's actually protection, which is hard to do when you've got 500 plus Mosquito fleet boats, which is a smart tactic that Iran has enacted in the Strait of Hormuz. But the Apache is a tank hunter by trade, but over that water, it's basically a drone swatter. They should rename this thing the drone swatter, and it's a shipping guardian. It lives down low inside the threat envelope exactly where the danger is. That's its job. And that's why obviously losing one of these things is a big deal. These are very valuable helicopters in this theater right now. But then enter Task Force 59. If you don't know that name yet, we're going to all learn it here very soon with this historic rescue operation. TF-59 is the Navy's dedicated unmanned and artificial intelligence task force run out of the 5th Fleet in Bahrain, the outfit that's been quietly seeding the Gulf with robotic boats, sensors for years. Think about the lamprey. That's that undersea leech that can actually latch onto submarines, boats, friendlies or hostiles, track them back to wherever they're going and hiding. It can sit on the seafloor and then come back to life whenever you need it to. I mean, just such a wild, capable system. And then the manta ray, more of an observer, an intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platform that can be out at sea for weeks, just hunting, watching, waiting for the right moment, passing intelligence. This Task Force 59 is likely the task force that's in charge of all of these, but it's also got something else in its quiver, a drone boat that's now in the water, and that's what found the crew. It brought them back to shore. For the first time, U.S. forces have ever run an aircrew water rescue with a maritime drone. This is the first time it's ever happened. 2 American soldiers pulled out of Iran's front yard. They basically have a swimming pool in their front yard. And this drone boat was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take back what's ours. And the only thing the United States risked to do it was that metal hull and some code to get it to the right place at the right time. So the exact details of this system haven't been released, but this doctrine writes itself now with an unmanned rescue vehicle that can go out, track, use AI to track the soldiers that were floating out in the Persian Gulf, scoop them up and get them home. What if this gets added on to more airframes? And now they're all teamed up, talking to each other. The drone boat is talking to the lamprey is talking to the manta ray, and you basically have this incredible technology system that's basically pressing the enemy from all sides, and the enemy has no hope of not only downing a helicopter and trying to get the crew, but also trying to lay sea mines, run their mosquito fleet. So many different options now that Task Force 59 is in charge of as far as the robots and the code and the AI that has now entered the fight. So to me, this isn't like a small step. This is basically a doorway opening, and now we're going to get a flood of capabilities from drone boats, lampreys, manta rays, all teamed up and working together, and then pumping that information to targeting systems, to the Aegis system, everything tying in together. So Iran basically brought their mosquito fleet to try to find these downed aviators. The U.S. brought a boat that drives itself, and they pulled 2 Americans out before the IRGC could even find their own dock.
I hope they did, I think, Paul. Sounds like it.
So now let's talk about the adversary pictured here and what Iran was likely using to try to find these aviators and what they still have left, because the Strait of Hormuz is lethal for low-flying helicopters in certain areas. Iran likely doesn't have a lot of capability near Oman. They reserve that for right next to their coastline, which is why they laid their minefield and they released maps to all the mariners showing that the minefield needed to drive all the different commercial vessels right up next to their coastline. So what that tells me is that Iran doesn't have a lot of capability near Oman, near that southern part, and they need all that traffic to go up near their own coastline, because the IRGC Navy, they run their swarm of fast attack boats, the Mosquito Fleet, and those are built to overwhelm with numbers. That's their whole goal. So what if not only these boats can do rescues from Task Force 59, what if they're armed? What if there's the ability to put machine guns, directed energy weapons on these fast attack craft and basically fight fire with fire? Oh, cool, Iran, you're gonna release your Mosquito Fleet, your Mosquito Swarm. Great, well, we're gonna have our own Mosquito Swarm, and they could be based in Oman, UAE, Qatar, different places along the opposing coastline. So as soon as Iran unleashes their fast attack boat swarm, somebody can just be like, oh, cool, all right, I'm on shift now. And they basically take control, and they're just sitting there like, yeah, let's go ahead and decimate this part of the fast attack swarm with these robot boats, and this part of the fast attack swarm with the Apache helicopter, and this part of the fast attack swarm with the A-10, just because the A-10's got the biggest crowd pleaser on the planet with that 30 millimeter bullet there. But think about the capability of those drone boat operators to drive and control different robotic boat swarms to contest Iran. I mean, this might be the biggest development in the conflict so far. because obviously we know that the Trump administration is driving towards a deal. But do we think at the end of the day that Iran is just going to sit on their thumbs after a deal is made? Of course not. The regime is going to continuously push and pressure and poke and try to retain control over the Strait of Hormuz, because that's a massive flow of cash for them. And remember, they've got an Ayatollah, Supreme Ayatollah, Majabta Khamenei. They've got these Western-facing puppets that are basically the supposed leaders that just do the bidding of the Ayatollah, and now doing the bidding of the IRGC, which the IRGC is going to want to extort as much money as possible out of the Strait of Hormuz. So that means keeping this mosquito swarm, these fast attack boat swarms, as their central strategy in the strait. So if we can counter that with a decisive deterrence force just sitting there waiting, now you unleash a mosquito robot fleet against Iran's fleet, and you've really got a strong bit of deterrence to keep any deal that goes into place on the table, because otherwise the deal could just be worthless and not even worth the paper that it's written on. And remember, Iran would have loved to gotten their hands on these army soldiers that went down in that Apache crash, because that would be bargaining chips for them at the table right now. So it can't be understated how strategic it is that this drone boat got there first and didn't allow Iran to get a propaganda win of trying to use these soldiers basically as chips in a high stakes negotiation betting game, trying to get a better deal. So at this point, I think it's pretty clear this boat is keeping up international relations. It's kind of like flipping that middle finger in Top Gun, just rolling up to the IRGC saying, hey guys, that's a cute mosquito swarm you have. Ours is controlled by robots. And that brings us to the global roundup, my friend. So this is a story you got to hear about in the Taiwan Straits. Half a world away, China's military tracked and shadowed a Dutch frigate, the De Ruyter, as it transited the Taiwan Strait. This is the latest in a pattern that ran more than 200 Chinese aircraft into Taiwan's air defense zone last month alone. Taiwan answered by passing a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar special budget to buy American arms. So they're trying to get that deal done. They're trying to get those arms into the country because they see how much China is stepping it up in the Taiwan Strait. And this is just massive, because shadowing an adversary warship without firing is how you condition a battle space and you normalize control. And you show that, yeah, we can track everything going on here. So this is pressure disguised as routine. The next story I want to talk about are hypersonics. So this is the jet that could retire the fighter pilot. Even though the F-47 is supposed to have the fighter pilot, DARPA and the Air Force are developing a reusable hypersonic strike aircraft designed to scream past Mach 5, punch through advanced defenses, hit the target, and then obviously be reusable over and over and over again. And it seems like there's a bit of a fight inside the Pentagon right now, whether something like that, an unmanned version of that, should replace the crewed F-47 fighter entirely. So from my perspective, obviously I love the idea of keeping fighter pilots in the cockpit, but a platform that can outrun every defense and comes home to be reusable and can pull, 50 plus Gs because there's no person in it, I definitely think it's something we got to look at, even if it's the F-47 actually up there controlling that other platform. And we made it to the 40 chess strategic analysis section, my friends. So let's talk about what's actually going on in Iranian leadership. They don't necessarily want that down Apache. Like, they don't care about reverse engineering that, because remember, their whole goal is ballistic missiles, drones, and basically pressuring the Gulf neighbors without having a massive air force because of the maintenance demands, the training demands. They would rather just build a massive amount of drones and ballistic missiles and try to control the Strait of Hormuz. And obviously, the big kahuna would be building an actual nuclear weapon. That would give them the ultimate amount of ability to protect the regime in their minds. That's what they think. But at the end of the day, this robot boat shows them something that they might not have been expecting. They didn't really know that the U.S. had robot boats operating in the Strait of Hormuz right now. So this is leverage, this is pressure. And again, if there can be a massive swarm of these robot boats just ready to go 24/7, ready to go from some of these islands that could just go out and attack the boat swarm of Iran, just think about it. One of these robot boats locking on to 3, 4, 5 of the Mosquito fleets using directed energy weapons, torpedoes, machine guns to strike them down. That could be the countering force against Iran that the world has always needed in Oman, in the Strait of Hormuz, just unleashing these things from bunkers that are right along the coastline to go out and contest Iran might be something that's keeping the mullahs up at night. What do you guys think happens from here? Do you think we see a massive robot fleet that's used for not only rescue, but for attack? Let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear what you have to say about that. And then go ahead and pop over to Pepperbox. I'm posting things on Pepperbox that you can't find anywhere else. Then go ahead and follow me on.
Okay, I hope that was a good one to get out today with that. Our military channel there. Billy came out with a 3-minute one. And then I'm going to do the cash big video.
At 9:26, time in Texas, about 1 p.m. So I can now confirm that yes, a U.S. Apache helicopter was shot down last night by Iran. Both pilots have been rescued and are safe. And President Trump just a little while ago posted what the U.S. response will be. So last night we began to hear the possibility that a U.S. Apache helicopter had been shot down by Iran, but we had no confirmation for that. So this happened last night while the U.S. was patrolling the Strait of Hormuz. We know that Iran has been firing on merchant ships and also trying to fire on U.S. destroyers and so on. So the U.S. had an Apache helicopter patrolling the Strait of Hormuz, flying over international waters. Now, I can confirm that Iran shot the Apache helicopter down. I do not yet have details on the method. So we have from W77 Tusi TV an enforcer that an Apache helicopter was shot down last night. CENTCOM was denying this, which is normal for militaries to do until they have investigated an incident and assured that their troops are safe. And we're hearing the two pilots ejected from the Apache helicopter and went into the water, the Persian Gulf. That the U.S. military then launched a specialized special forces helicopter designed to do rescues. And both of the pilots were rescued and are reported to be fine. Now, a little while ago, U.S. Intel brings this out. Yes, CENTCOM does confirm that this shoot down by Iran of the U.S. Apache helicopter over international waters did take place. And that President Trump now has posted on social media that the U.S. will retaliate. This concludes my flash update. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
At university,
All right,
furniture
that's
tuition
some
rate
good
is
news,
locked in from the
Paul?
day you enroll
Everybody?
until you graduate. So you all
Thanks for Billy Bean there giving us a big update there. So we are going to do Cass's video.
Still think it's a good idea to run for re-election.
Okay, let's talk about Ilhan Omar. She's officially filed for re-election. She wrote, filed for re-election, excited to continue representing the incredible people of Minnesota's 5th District. This comes, of course, as she continues to face criticism over potential allegations linking her to individuals connected to Minnesota's massive fraud scandal.
There's hundreds of millions of dollars of illegal profits being made with social adult daycare centers. You've probably never heard of a social adult daycare center. They're popping up all over the place, in fact, doubling the amount of money they're making every few months. What's going on?
There's one guy, he racked up $30,000 in tax debts in Columbus, running this daycare center and not paying his taxes. So then he started a home healthcare company in Minnesota, billed $35,000 in 1 month, and then dissolved the company.
Filing for re-election. Yeah, has she ever heard that line, Gab? Maybe spit this one out, because that is the first thing that I would say to her. Minnesota voters and the American people deserve answers.
You know who doesn't have an affordability problem in America right now? That would be the people stealing from it. Look at this. But what nobody's talking about is there's a major networks that are popping up all over the country, started by people over here. Find out things could get really bad for the people who've enabled this and covered it up, which is why Tim Walz stepped down. And although we don't know where the money went, it's pretty easy to guess, because who would be out there defending fraudsters and criminals who rob America, stealing from its children and its needy, all to spend their money on luxury vacations and things none of us will ever be able to afford, with operations that are becoming increasingly more obvious. It's like they're not even trying to hide it anymore, like this.
And it just seems to be the family business is billing Medicaid.
Criminal rings. We did a lot of work previously this year on Medicaid fraud in Minnesota. There seemed to be a lot of similarities here.
Yeah, it's the same people. They all have relatives in both places, and they move back and forth. First of all, I think there was $130 million in cash that transferred from the Columbus airport to the Minnesota airport. And so they're moving basically briefcases of cash.
That's crazy. So not only do we have massive amounts of fraud taking place in Minnesota, but criminals operating there, we're moving between other states, creating different businesses in other places where nobody was checking, taking money, and in some cases not even paying taxes, and then using that money to pay. It's just, what a nightmare. How is this legal? Well, the good news is it's not, and people are finally getting busted. Watch this.
You got it right. And they're a mother and a daughter, by the way. And they would often pay moms to lie that their children had autism. Well, this is a much bigger problem for the country. These programs, especially in Medicaid, were designed sort of on the honor system. You were asking people to pay for things your family would normally do for you. And so you'd assume they would take advantage of the system once in a while, but it would be very rare. So this is a good example in autism, where we've taken an ailment, a tragic condition for many families that they're struggling financially to cope with. And it was supposed to cost $3 million, $4 million. Not supposed to cost $400 million.
That's a lot of money. And the crazy thing about this revelation is we're learning that America's piggy bank is accessible on the honor system, and there might be consequences later if the fraud is big enough. What a mess. What a recipe for disaster. And this is why the people connected to these scams like Governor Walz and Representative Omar are so defensive about them. Because even though Tim Walz stepped down, he tried to defend himself for not caring about fraud, stating that Minnesota is a generous state. And oh, we're so generous, there's no guardrails, but that's just so we can help as many people as quickly as possible, which is what Dr. Oz just said. The only difference is somebody realizes that there's a problem with that system, and somebody else thinks that the ends justify the means. Who cares if there's fraud? We helped people. So what? It all evens out. That's the attitude that is going to bankrupt our country, and which leads to new scams like this next one popping up everywhere.
Healthcare is becoming unaffordable, in part because of the amount of fraud that's taking place. I want to tell you a story about what's happening here in Flushing, Queens, New York City.
Ghost your ROI worries. Ooh, spend smarter. Snapchat ads.
If you live in the United States, be prepared for this, as most Americans have no clue what's coming. And no, it's not another virus, another lockdown, or some political...
Within a block of this New York City police
15
precinct.
minutes.
There's hundreds of millions of dollars of illegal profits being made with social adult daycare
What?
centers. You've probably never heard of a social
Yeah, I
adult
haven't.
daycare center. They're popping up all over the place. In fact, doubling the amount of money they're making every few months. What's going on? Here's the deal. You get a bunch of seniors who live in a small insular community. They want to hang out together. These are now funded by Medicaid in New York State. And they get together, but unbeknownst to them, there's actually a fraudster running these endeavors.
Wow. So first we learned that one way to rob America by billing the government for stuff you never do is to start one of these daycare centers. We saw so many empty daycare centers all over Minnesota. And now we're seeing the same thing in New York City, which is another place where there are no checks and balances apparently, because you got these adult daycares, these hangouts that are somehow funded by all of America for what purpose? And as you're about to see, some of these people, they're not even showing up, just like the daycares. What a coincidence.
And they're not all bad, but when they're bad, they can sometimes even bribe the senior. They'll pay them money to lie and pretend that they're coming there every day so they can bill the government, even though they're not coming at all. Once they get them hooked, then they say, okay, I'm going to send you to the pharmacy. You're going to pretend to get a medication that you don't need. Or I'm going to get an x-ray you don't need. Or a treatment that you're not supposed to have. I'll send you something from a durable medical equipment supplier. How about a wheelchair? You don't need it because you can walk, but I'll send it to you anyway. And then they send you a personal care assistant. The number one job now in New York State is a personal care assistant, a home health aide to help you in your home when you don't need it.
Wow, that's insane. So it goes beyond the building that is fraudulently billing the government, and it feeds into all of these other fraudulent little services, medications people don't need, wheelchairs for people who could walk. I mean, and I'm sure there are scammers at the other end of these medical equipment suppliers that are teamed up with places that are going to funnel them clients who don't even need a wheelchair or don't even need a patient at their pharmacy. There's a network of fraud going on here, and it's deeper than any of us ever knew. And the fact that this is all being done on the honor system is why we've got so many of these places cropping up all over the place. No one's checking. No one can check. And in instances where people are supposed to care and are supposed to check, it seems like they don't want to because they say, hey, we helped someone. Someone went to an adult daycare or somebody went to a daycare and yeah, there's fraud, but hey, we can't catch everybody. What's the big deal?
I just want to be clear. Your testimony is that there is a large interstate criminal enterprise of fraudsters that are defrauding the federal government in multiple states of potentially billions of dollars. Is that your testimony?
Wow.
And can you give us a sense of the scale of this fraud? We saw it in Minnesota. We're seeing it here, but have you seen it in other places, or can you give us a sense for either dollar values or the number of people involved, in your opinion?
There's thousands of people involved. I would say the majority of people are either on Medicaid home health care or are providing Medicaid home health care services. They had recently 15,000 people. This nonprofit group, this advocacy group, which is tied to actually founded by a home health care guy. They had 15,000 people come to this party in Ohio, and they bust in all the participants on their Medicaid vans because everybody there has their own Medicaid company.
Interesting. So you have an army of fraudsters that are basically bussing people around so that they can get charged and so that the federal government can pay for it. And this is like a full-time occupation at a time when regular people are having problems putting gas in their cars or buying groceries, right? We've got massive inflation in housing markets in these deep blue cities because they don't build enough houses. We've got massive retail theft rings operating in these places that steal products and force costs up so stores can stay open. You've got people trying to obey the law, but they're just subsidizing criminals at every single turn. And then when they try to sign up for healthcare, that's extra expensive because there's so many criminals accessing that. The federal government's running out of money. And we've got to ask ourselves a big question here. Who do you think these fraudsters are supporting when it's election time? Do you think they're going to get out there and rally behind a candidate who wants accountability, who wants crackdowns, who wants investigations? Or are they going to rally around a candidate who just talks about helping people and just talks about doing the greatest good for the greatest number of people? Of course, we all know the answer to that. And it's this emotional language that is designed to separate hardworking Americans who care about each other from their hard-earned money. But now we're all starting to ask questions like, who's behind this? How deep does this actually go? And will there finally be some consequences? consequences.
Okay, let's talk about Ilhan Omar. She's officially filed for re-election, announcing her decision in a brief post on X. She wrote, filed for re-election, excited to continue representing the incredible people of Minnesota's 5th District. Okay, this comes, of course, as she continues to face criticism over potential allegations linking her to individuals connected to Minnesota's massive Feeding Our Future fraud scandal, one of the largest fraud cases in US history, as well as questions around whether she married her brother or not.
Yeah,
Caitlin,
people are asking about that.
Filing for re-election, what are her chances?
I think she'll win.
Filing for re-election. Yeah, has she ever heard that line, Gab? Maybe sit this one out, because that is the first thing that I would say to her.
Yeah.
Minnesota voters and the American people deserve answers to these questions about fraud, where the money's gone, where taxpayer money has gone.
We'll go to
So here's the thing.
guys.
She very
3
well
o'clock.
could win re-election because she's popular nationally. She's
back at
popular
7.
locally. She may win. She may absorb all of the socialist energy in America because she's a national voice standing against Trump. But she also may be investigated at the exact same time because what she's done allegedly is very serious. If this turns out to be true, there's also massive questions about her rise to riches, which still have not been answered. I have to wonder if the financial disclosures, the revisions on the screen right now would have ever happened if the governor of her state were the vice president, who would be the one in charge. Notice right now, J.D. Vance is investigating all of the fraud across America, and Tim Walz was causing a lot of the fraud in certain parts of America, or at least leading the way. Would he have investigated fraud? I don't know.
Last week, as you know, with the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force led by the vice president, we were witnessing exactly why these 2 women were able to get away with it. Within the Department of Health, they would ostracize and shut down whistleblowers who were trying to put their hand up and saying, guys, there's something wrong here. At least help me look into the problems. And they escort these people out of the building and never let them return to their primary jobs. Well, the #1 biller of Botox in the country just went to jail. She billed $25 million for Botox to Medicaid, pretending that it was going to help people with migraines.
That's crazy.
Again, fraudster, coming from a place you could not imagine. And we're catching these folks. But the real question we should be asking ourselves, is this a flaw or is it a feature?
Oh, it's a feature. This system has been designed this way on purpose because it's on the honor system, and people without honor, well, what are they going to do? They're going to defy the honor system because they don't have any, and they're going to steal, and they're going to rob our country, and they're going to enrich themselves, and they're going to enrich people who set up more of these zero guardrails programs that are supposed to help everyone immediately, and who cares if there's fraud because we need help. That's the attitude behind all of this. And what we're talking about here is state-sponsored fraud. We've got elements of the federal government, elected representatives, passing laws, setting all of this up just so that it can be taken advantage of. And then when great people who are hardworking and honest want access to these programs, they're all full, or they're running out of money, or you got to get in line because the adult daycare or the child daycare or whatever is full, and they can't enroll any more beneficiaries because if they do, they think it might bring up a red flag. Meanwhile, nobody actually goes because everyone enrolled in these places are fake. So you have all these places around that claim to help people, nobody's inside, and nobody can go. And now, as you're about to see, the same things happening with Obamacare, which is why nobody can afford what's in the Affordable Care Act.
2015, 16, 17, 18, 2020, there were 9 million people on Obamacare. 9 million. Today, it's more than 20 million. Like, what happened? What happened was we completely took the guardrails off. And I know this because I'm working in the agency that actually was told to take the guardrails off. And because there wasn't an earnest desire to keep track of whether you're appropriately on it or not, but more importantly, just get the number to where we all feel good about ourselves, we had massive increases of people joining the program. We believe that 35% roughly of the people that are using the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare exchanges, because they've never used the program once, they've never filed a claim, may not be legit.
Wow.
And that actual number may translate to, I don't know, 5-6 million people we could be paying premiums for because they don't have to contribute anything. So they don't even know they're getting it. These are people who have Medicaid, and someone, often a broker, is dishonestly enrolling them on in an Affordable Care Act, or they're in 2 states at once getting full insurance paid for by us.
And who gets that money? The insurance companies. That's right. That's why we don't hear them complaining too much about the cost of healthcare. America's paying for it. America doesn't care what the premiums are because you've got people enrolled in these programs. They don't even know they're on it. They're paying money to insurance companies, millions of people all over the place. This is just so crazy. It gets worse. Every single day we learn more about this fraud and all of these scams enabled by our elected representatives. The whole thing just gets worse. It never gets better. Every time they catch somebody, every time they convict somebody, we learn that the fraud's even worse. Now there's multi-state scams going on with fraudsters opening businesses all over the place. And it's almost like at this point, fraud is part of how certain
inflation can actually be a good thing if someone is drowning in debt and trapped by compounding
parts of America operate and run themselves, which has us headed on a pathway to bankruptcy. We need to start doing something about this right now. Thank God we are, but this is going to take a long time. This is not the kind of thing that's going to get fixed in 1 year of a few fraudsters getting sent to jail. No, this is going to take a long time. There's so many operations. Look at all the operations that need to be investigated in New York, all of these adult daycares.
There. But again, I think the American people are demanding answers. We need to hold her accountable. Americans are exhausted by this double standard that comes from Democrats and our representatives.
Totally.
And I think the shift starts now.
Yep. Hopefully.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, there's been so much attention on Minnesota and so many questions around how much she knew or didn't know. Same goes for Tim Walz.
Yep.
I mean, they've both at least proven to be completely incompetent.
Who stepped down, by the way.
I want to get your thoughts on.
And the great part is this has been brought to light by just regular tax-paying American citizens, right? The level of fraud, the amount of money that we want to know where it's gone. All of this has been highlighted and brought to life by tax-paying citizens.
Right. When somebody like Nick Shirley can grab a GoPro and go to places and investigate them and find a whole bunch of weird stuff, you know there's a problem because that's something investigators should have caught. That's stuff that Governor Tim Walz would have known about in Minnesota if he would walk down the street. Ilhan Omar as well. There's no way these individuals didn't know what was going on in the state they claim to represent. Unless, of course, they don't actually know what's going on in their own state. But that's impossible when you're taking pictures with these people. That's impossible when everyone's telling you how much good you're doing for the community. Yet the businesses they claim to operate never have anybody inside of them. Like a 10-second investigation at any of these places. All you had to do was sit in front of one of these daycares or these leering centers and just see who comes in and out. And no one's coming in or out. No one's been here all month, but they're billing. They're sending us so many bills to Medicaid and we're just paying, but nobody ever comes in and out. Like, this is so easy to catch. But people didn't want to catch it. And here's why cracking down on fraud is the solution to unaffordability in this country. Check this out.
There's a very strong effort by us. We actually made a rule 2 weeks ago that starts the process. We had tried to do this when we first came into office. Court enjoined us.
Sure.
Did not feel we'd followed appropriate APA guidelines, guidelines, and so we redid it, and now it went back out again. But if you care about the ACA, then you'll want us to take the fraud out. And let me just take a step back. If we want you to go back to work on Medicaid, what's going to happen? You're going to start making money. As you make money, you're going to make enough money. You get above the poverty level. You're going to want to buy an Affordable Care Act product or private industry. Commercial insurers are going to start using it. That's a good thing. We're getting America back up. They're getting into work, getting them into the stratosphere, building prosperity. So we want these programs to work together. But if you've got millions of people, literally, who are getting insurance that they don't want, they don't even know they have it, and we're all paying for it, that's tens of billions of dollars we're throwing away. That increases premiums for everybody. It drives affordability down.
And that's how socialism works. That's how redistribution works. And in this case, America's money is being redistributed not to people who have the greatest need, but to people who are scammers. When the reality here is we need law and order and we need capitalism. That's what's going to bring back affordability to America. You need competition, and you don't have fair competition if you don't have real supply and demand. Right now you have fake demand from scammers that want access to America's money on the honor system, and they're getting it, and that's making all of our lives more expensive. That's why nobody can afford healthcare right now, because we got so many people that are on healthcare that don't even know they're on it or don't even need it, that these insurance companies might have to pay out massive amounts because they've just got so many enrolled individuals. This whole thing is a big disaster. Every single week, we're learning something new. Every single week, there's another investigation. There's more testimony of how this just gets worse and worse and worse. And it's not like all of this testimony was made up at the last minute. It's not like this is all part of some creepy obsession. No, there needs to be an obsession with stopping criminal activity in your country. That's the job of law and order. That's the job of the federal government. If they're not obsessed with that, then we've got a real problem, especially if it's their goal to enable it. What do you think about that? I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, I thought that was an important one to get out because it was long. It's 21 minutes. All right, I got 4 more short ones. The first one is 7 with Melania, First Lady.
Potential AI Challenge winners. It is wonderful to see this very impressive group of innovators at the White House today. I'm proud that you represent the best of America. You are our future. Thank you to Secretaries Wright and Rollins for being here today. Your support of this program is a key to its ongoing success. I also want to recognize everyone who took part in this first AI contest: students, educators, parents, and administrators. Yes, you could applaud. Today is about opening doors. When the doors open, passions flow, courage blossoms, and dreams are realized. AI inspires. Use this chapter of your life to sail away with your dreams, to continue to build boldly, and importantly, to safeguard America's leading position in the world of technology. As you know, technology supports every business sector today. You saw AI's potential and created ideas that will shape America's future in many areas, including healthcare, nutrition, public safety, and beyond. The first presidential AI challenge was broadly welcomed across our nation. More than 20,000 students participated across all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and 49 Department of War schools in 10 countries around the world. And we are just at the beginning. Artificial intelligence gives our communities access to the largest amount of information ever recorded in humanity's history. This fundamental democratization of intellect will profoundly alter society, our industries, our social safety net, and even our open-mindedness toward cultural diversity. Wisdom is tolerance, and change will be enhanced at hyperspeed. AI is transformative. Nature opens new possibilities. AI can help us build a stronger community, making our publicly funded social programs more efficient and more effective. It allows us to deliver more personalized education, and in return, will unlock growth in America's economy. Keep using artificial intelligence as a muse to open new pathways and ultimately to achieve personal growth and success. Today is about new beginnings. Don't be reluctant to push that door open. Be bold with your dreams and brave with your actions.
Hey, that was Melania today. I just got off a clip here, a 10-minute clip from True Pups channel on Telegram. Rosa had an interview the other day with what's your name? It's 10 minutes. They just did a 10-minute clip. What she said.
The official face of civility, right? But also where he went to a lot of I mean, they knew, they figured out after a while, and they were quite entertained by his account. By that, they used to try to, they definitely used to try to bring him in.
No way, that's crazy.
And what was so interesting to me though was that he had read so many of their manuscripts, ancient manuscripts. 2.5 years training.
Wow.
Underground.
They have ancient manuscripts?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I read all that stuff too.
From-
I devoured all that stuff since I was about 10 years old. All the secret stuff of what they do.
Wait, what is that? You can't tell me what the manuscript is?
No.
Okay.
No,
but they
no.
have their own ancient manuscript that they're having these.
Manuscripts? Oh yeah, they have their old ancient
Is it satanic?
stuff. Well, I think the way to describe it is godless. Look, this is one of the most important things he
It's
said to
pagan.
me. It is pagan. And when I asked him about, why, for example, do they do this to children? Why are they so cruel? Why are they so violent? Why are they so vicious with children? Because it's just unbearable, right? It crushes my soul. And I've reported a lot on the cartels, and when you're doing that and you just see up close this level of violence, and then the Islamic terror side, I've seen terrible things done to children. And so I just had to know. And he said to me, Lara, you just are looking at it the wrong way. Like, that is not how they look at it. For them, every single thing is.
Sorry about that, you guys. I didn't think that was very important to get out. Let's get. I think this is 5 minutes.
Inside the Royal Navy's Combat Information Center, the atmosphere was calm until an urgent alert shattered the silence. The vessel Yantar had disappeared from the AIS tracking grid. Moments earlier, it had entered a congested shipping lane packed with fishing trawlers and cargo ships, then deliberately shut off its AIS signal, dissolving into a fog of radar clutter and overlapping returns. British operators scrambled to isolate its signature, stripping away layers of noise from their displays, but the contact was gone. Then the realization hit. Yantar had quietly peeled away from the traffic flow and was now loitering at a critical maritime choke point, directly above the junction of two major fiber optic cables linking Europe and the United States. In seconds, NATO found itself outplayed, caught in a textbook gray zone trap engineered by Moscow. Any warning shots would allow Russia to claim the West had attacked an innocent research vessel suffering technical issues, a ready-made excuse for escalation. But delaying another 15 minutes to argue rules of engagement meant the submersible, hidden beneath Yantar, could be deployed, giving Moscow access to vast streams of military intelligence and financial data. The British task group was constrained by the same international laws it exists to uphold. As the standoff reached a breaking point, a new contact flashed onto the Link 16 network. A U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon was inbound at maximum speed, carrying a solution so unconventional it would never appear in a standard doctrine manual. To understand why tension inside the British command center was so extreme, you have to understand what was at stake. The area Yantar was approaching functions as the nervous system of the Western economy, where fiber optic cables rest on the seabed carrying roughly 97% of global data. from banking transactions to military communications, and even the video you are watching right now. Officially, Moscow labels ships like Yantar as oceanographic research vessels. The term sounds harmless, even scientific. Inside NATO circles, it is understood as a polite cover for intelligence platforms designed to tap or sever undersea cables. Yantar operates under the authority of Russia's main Directorate of Deep Sea Research, a shadowy organization dedicated to covert seabed operations and strategic sabotage. It carries multi-frequency sonar and seismic mapping equipment. But the most alarming capability sits beneath its hull, the AS-37 Rus Deep Submergence Vehicle. With a certified diving depth of roughly 6,000 meters, it can reach far below the operating envelope of any NATO submarine. Its articulated manipulator arms are not designed for scientific sampling. They are engineered to grasp, clamp, and sever armored fiber optic cables resting on the seabed. This is the detail British officers could not ignore. Yantar's deployment came immediately after a string of unexplained undersea cable failures in the Baltic Sea. No formal attribution, no conclusive public evidence, only a repeating pattern. The same class of vessel, the same operating behavior, the same silence from Moscow afterward. In military analysis, when the same event happens twice in different theaters using the same tool, it stops being coincidence. It becomes a signature. Consider the analogy officers quietly shared among themselves. If a masked figure carrying bolt cutters is found pacing behind your house at 2 a.m., do you assume he is studying fence architecture or preparing a crime? Context matters. Intent is inferred from behavior, timing, and capability. That is why no one in the CIC was willing to accept the label research vessel at face value. At this moment, Yantar was executing precise station keeping, speed near zero, bow gently adjusted into the current, not anchored, not drifting uncontrollably, just stable enough to avoid triggering maritime alarms. For surface observers, it looked benign. For experienced naval officers, it was the ideal posture to deploy a payload straight down without disturbing the surface or advertising intent. Inside the Combat Information Center of HMS Iron Duke, tension climbed. Radar remained cold. Active sonar stayed silent. Any acoustic emission could alert the Russian crew and prompt them to abort, erase evidence, and retreat under the protection of international law. Detection was not the objective. Attribution was. This is where U.S. Navy doctrine diverged from instinct. At 20,000 feet, the inbound P-8A Poseidon maintained absolute radio 14 hours.
Okay, update what the Navy knows. So I got 4 more short ones here. I had 2 more from our lady on TikTok. She came out with 4 of them yesterday. I'm going to play these 2.
Most of y'all have probably already heard this, but for the ones who haven't, Charlie Kirk was martyred at 12:23 p.m., which was 9:23 in Israel at that time. Not only that, but the same day in Utah where he was shot was a 4.1 earthquake. Revelation chapter 4, verse 1. After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet, talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show you thee things which must be hereafter. Charlie Kirk was born in 1993. It has literally been 1,993 years since Jesus was crucified. I do believe Charlie Kirk's death will be used to bring people to Christ, because there are a lot of videos circling around of him spreading the gospel. In Leviticus chapter 23, starting with verse 23 and ending with verse 25, it talks about the Feast of Trumpets. Starting with verse 26 and ending with verse 32, talks about the Day of Atonement. Almost like 2026 to 2032. Do I have some wild stuff to tell y'all?
Hey, that was a very important one she did.
Repetition acts as a fundamental tool by bypassing the conscious mind, altering states of consciousness, and manifesting change through habit or ritual. Now, I want you to watch something. Vanilla Ice sung Ice Ice Baby at Trump's New Year's Eve party. Now, in the news, all we hear about is ICE, as in the agents. Now, we all know about the ritual that was going around that kids were saying over and over again, you know, the 6-7 thing. Everyone was repeating this, and it was, in fact, a ritual. The dictionary.com's word of the year for 2025 was actually a slang term, 6-7. Vanilla Ice was born October the 31st, 1967. I got a lot of this info from a post on Facebook from a group called Normal Isn't Coming Back, but Jesus Is. Vanilla Ice was born in Dallas, and they are currently under a winter storm watch. He was raised in Miami, where Indiana just beat the Miami Hurricanes. Vanilla Ice will be in Indiana this Friday to play at the Horseshoe Casino on 777 Casino Drive. This winter storm that is about to hit millions of Americans is called Fern. And on a side note, Fern means rebirth. Just want to know they like to.
Okay, 2 more important ones there. Two minutes.
System, I'm going to tell you right now that you're probably correct. I am in college right now to get my bachelor's in science and education. And I happened to go down a rabbit hole last night about who writes the books, because the books that I'm reading are wildly inaccurate and outing themselves without having to do anything. McGraw-Hill is widely known as Robert Maxwell's company. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, that whole story, go look it up if you don't know it, okay? But I want to know who owned McGraw-Hill right now. McGraw-Hill is owned and operated by a company called Platinum Equity. Platinum Equity is owned, CEO owned, by Tom Gores. So I said, who's Tom Gores? I wish I hadn't gone down this rabbit hole, because the rabbit hole is deeper than a rabbit can jump out of. I'm hooked, okay? Tom Gores also happens to own, if you know the story about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine and where they died and or are currently sitting, this might pique your interest. He also owns a telecommunications system company for the jails. All the recorded lines, yeah, he owns that too. Him being Israel born is just the kicker, right? So then I was like, let me look up his family. I wonder if he's related to other billionaires who happen to rule the world. His brother Sam Gores owns Paradigm. Paradigm is the Hollywood company who has clients like Billie Eilish, Ed Sheeran, Coldplay, Sydney Sweeney. Why would a family who is a billionaire and has ties with Hollywood want the public education system also under their belt? Why would they want a security system where they can hear, see, handle, tap into, get rid of telecommunications recordings in the jails? I'm just saying, all of it being related is a little too suspicious for me. And if you have your kids in public school and you don't want these books starting to sway and completely brainwash them, one, tell your kid not to go to college for anything, because all of the college books are brainwashing kids. There's a different rabbit hole I can get into on which company does that, because I also looked into that last night. But the fact that two brothers who get along swimmingly.
Okay, I hope that was an interesting video. Okay, has anybody been following that Carmel Anthony trial? I'm going to play as an update on it. Five minutes, and this will be the last one till 7.
Murder in the stabbing death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet in Frisco, Texas. Okay, so the closing arguments already underway, already finished. The jury's out for deliberation. I just want to go ahead and recap the prosecution side, what they said in their closing arguments. It was pretty lengthy, so I will be looking at my notes a lot. First, they started off with the fact that the defense brought up the warning. They called it a warning. Touch me and see what happens. Well, the prosecutor said, don't buy that. Don't let them make you believe that it is a warning, because the prosecution says it was a threat. They also said that there was plenty of witness testimony to prove that it was a threat. The teenagers under that tent all took it as a threat, and not to classify it as a warning. It was a threat. He said that Carmelo Anthony went into that tent with a mindset to commit violence. And we'll get into that just a little bit later. He did point to all of the testimony of the witnesses that testified that Carmelo Anthony provoked this attack, provoked the stabbing himself, and provoked Austin Metcalf, who said he did not want to fight. And so it is Anthony's fault that everything happened. He pointed to the testimony of all the teenagers who said he provoked it and the teenagers who classified this as murder. He also tore apart the defense's argument that Austin Metcalf somehow stabbed himself or impaled himself on the knife. He said that was absolutely ludicrous. There was no way that Metcalf impaled himself on a knife that Austin was just holding. And so that self-defense, that impaling knife argument, he just threw it out the window. He did focus a lot on the mindset of Carmelo Anthony, the mindset that he went to the track meet with a knife. He didn't go to the track meet to run, to compete, to socialize. He went to that track meet carrying a knife in his backpack. And then he had that knife ready with his hand in his backpack with it open. It was a folding knife, a 5-inch folding knife, but he had it opened and he was ready. He said he had a thought that he wanted to go there and cause violence. And he did. He did go there and cause violence. He said that this all boils down to one fact. He said it's crystal clear that this is murder. That one fact matters here is you do not get to respond to a push with deadly force, whether that's a light push, a medium push, or a linebacker type of a push. You do not get to respond to it with deadly force. And that is exactly what Anthony did. Metcalf pushed him to get out of the tent, and Anthony responded with deadly force by stabbing him in the chest with a 5-inch knife. He said Anthony provoked it. And then he talked about how thankful he was. And he reminded the jury about that video evidence. The defense had witnesses come to the stand saying that they saw Anthony was surrounded, that there was a bunch of kids around him, that it was self-defense. But the video evidence proved that those teenagers were not looking at the Memorial High School tent when the stabbing actually happened. And he thanked God for that video evidence, and he told the jury to remember that video evidence of the defense's witnesses that were basically, their stories were torn apart up there because of that video evidence. He repeated about meeting a push with deadly force. He repeated again about the witnesses saying that Anthony provoked this situation. He said that Austin Metcalf was unarmed. There was no reason to stab somebody who was unarmed, who was actually telling you to leave the tent. All he had to do was walk away. All he had to do was leave the tent, and the whole situation would be over. But Anthony didn't do that. Anthony wanted to make somebody's day, he said. He said that there were no defense wounds on Austin Metcalf, which means that Austin was not anticipating that anybody was going to attack him. It happened quickly. He didn't anticipate it. He didn't think there was going to be a fight. He actually said,
I'm going to cut that off because, you guys, there's breaking news on that. The verdict reached in Carmelo Anthony murder trial, live on Fox. So this is live. They reached the verdict. So I'm going to find the channel before we go off the air. See what's going on here. Where's the live verdict? I'm glad I stopped that so we can see this, you guys.
Of this entire thing through the screen, and I don't even know. I have a bad feeling about whatever it is. I just don't know that this is going to go over smoothly. If it's not There are some people that if it's not the way they want it, they lose their minds. I'm nervous too, Dana, and I'm not even, you would think I was the one on trial at this point. I'm sitting here tensing every muscle I got.
Could be riots.
I feel like it's going to be
later
very
on.
scary out there for a while. I think so too. I really do.
Wow, they already starting outside.
We know how violent these people are. The state needs to be prepared for what these people will do. I think they are. I think that they know exactly what they're dealing with because this has been going on since day one of the trial. Actually, day one of the trial, a lot of people that got into the courtroom, like Sarah Fields and some others that were covering stuff, and they were saying after day one, it was so bad that day that they almost contemplated, like, am I safe being here for this? And like debating, like, is this even safe? Sarah Fields actually has like paid like protection as a journalist there. Crying justice for criminals is so wrong. I agree. It is sad because he was young, but this is a choice that was made and it comes with a consequence. And you do no one any favors by pacifying a bad choice. So let's hear what this is saying now. I don't know if they're talking.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Rabb with Eat and Chuckle. We are in the Fox 4 digital studio. A verdict has been reached in the Carmelo Anthony trial. It's going to be announced in about 10 minutes. And we're watching now the tension that is growing outside of the Collin County Courthouse.
So they're holding signs and chanting. People are holding signs there and chanting. As you can see, the noise, the chants are getting louder and louder. This jury started deliberating at around 10:52 this morning. So they have been deliberating for 3 hours, and we know they have reached that verdict, which will be announced at 2:05. This whole process really has moved fairly quickly. If you think about it, just last Monday, jury selection started. And by Wednesday, the jury was seated. And over the weekend, prosecutors rested their case. The defense rested its case.
What do you guys think?
Let me talk about that for a minute.
Innocent or guilty?
And what's happening right now. This is the tension that has been growing in Collin County since 2025 when this took place. Okay. And these kinds of face-to-face, emotion-rising, shouting matches really do no good, but we've seen them become more and more intense, even as this trial has progressed, Eden, as you were talking about, since last week. Emotions are boiling high on both sides, and these kind of verbal confrontations that we're looking at here right now, Eden, just show us really what's right under the surface that has been brought out with this particular case.
Absolutely. And I think this is probably going to paint the picture of how things are going to be once the verdict is announced, which we are waiting for at 2:05 this afternoon. So in less than 10 minutes, but we're already seeing tensions. And this is how it's been over the last couple of days. But really now we're seeing it escalate as people are facing each other, holding signs, yelling, chanting, and things appear to be getting a little hostile.
Yeah, and certainly we hope the cooler heads will ultimately prevail here. This emotion does not help or change anything that 12 people have decided about Carmelo Anthony.
I am starting to cry a little bit. I'm sorry for y'all, but I don't have kids. And for those of you that have been with me since the beginning, like, I'm just very like authentically me. And a lot of people ask like why I don't have kids. And, you know, I do like nice things. I like a clean house, whatever. And I just think kids take a lot of work, obviously. And I always believe that it's better to be real with yourself and say, hey, I'm not ready to be a parent than to be a bad parent. And when I look at stuff like this is another reason why I don't want children as well, because where we're at as a society, it's really sad to watch hate. Just it really bothers my being. It disturbs me. Just because I think that it's just, it's not healthy. It's not okay, you know, and it's very hard to watch. I'm not a hateful person. I'm not a vengeful person. I just believe that, you know, sometimes, you know, we don't get justice in this life and that comes later, and I'm okay with that. And I think, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of just nasty. It's just all very nasty and negative, and it's hard to watch it for me. You guys let me know where you're at, but for me, maybe I'm a crybaby. I don't know. It bothers me. It really does.
That the verdict is coming 2:00, so the punishment phase should start this afternoon, and then certainly tomorrow it will continue, and which has moved at a rapid pace. This trial will probably wrap by weeks.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about me? How can I make this about me? I'm not making this about me. I'm saying that it's disturbing that we're at this point in society. Is that not understandable? How is that making... This is not about me. This is not about me. I did not wake up one day and decide to bring a weapon to a school event and hurt somebody. This is not about me. Yeah, this is like watching people live in two different worlds. Yeah, it is. And actually, that comment right there saying that I'm trying to make it about me, you're the problem. And what we'll do with you is we'll ban you from the channel because you just can't handle it.
We have our Lori Brown, who is in the courtroom. So she had told us that, if the jury had reached a decision by 2
I love the
o'clock,
ban
that
button.
The sentencing phase the punishment phase would play out starting today. But if the jury were to reach a decision later on at 4, then that would happen.
Based ban. That's the best thing ever. Yeah, this is my podcast, and I am always going to be honest about how I feel. And yeah. You could never make a mistake, huh, crazy lady? Who are you talking about, Adam? Me? I mean, I've made it 37 years and I've never murdered somebody.
Tomorrow. So it looks like things have moved quickly, as we've said. It's hard to believe that just last Monday was really jury selection, and now the jury.
Of course, thank you for being here. I
to a
appreciate everyone
decision,
that's in the
which we're gonna
chat.
Find out in 4 minutes. So hopefully this starts right on time at 2:05. But as we're watching right now, live
I know, isn't that
pictures
funny?
of people protesting, of
The
tensions
audacity.
escalating, of just kind of a hostile picture that we're seeing.
The audacity for me to say what I think and feel on my own podcast. I just see what I'm saying. Some people remind me of the people that make mistakes and it was a ghost that did it. Accountability is not their thing.
Right here. Something also important to note. I mean, this has been a racially charged
Mello Anthony did.
To some of the closing arguments.
We're going to fast
Attorney
forward
Mike
because
Howard,
it's 3:05.
this is,
So
for
any
the
minute
defense,
we're
'cause
going to be
the
doing
defense
this.
went first during closing. Oh,
Okay,
okay.
let's go to Alex Boyer.
Alex, when I spoke to you during the noon show, you said that you saw prayer circles. It looks like things are certainly different now as we are watching what's unfolding behind you. Just describe the mood. What is going on? It seems like there's a lot of tension.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to step out of the way so that you can actually get a better view for what we are seeing here right now. We're about 20 feet away from the other camera angle that you guys have been seeing at this moment. Can you guys hear me in the studio? Can you guys hear me back at the studio? Okay, so I'm standing about 20 feet back from where that other camera angle is, where you've been seeing some of these live pictures. So we're kind of standing behind the crowd. I can tell you that there are barricades that are lined up right at the end of this driveway that has been closed off the entire time this trial has been in session, to try to minimize the amount of people who are driving through and accessing this area that leads into the front of the courthouse. I can tell you that just within the past few seconds, I've noticed some of the crowd disperse a little bit. I can tell you that it appears that we have a heightened police presence that has shown up within the past few seconds. Seems like they're trying to show kind of some unification here in front of those barricades. I'm counting about, looks like at least 7 or 8 uniformed officers right on the other side of that barricade.
Are they playing like elevator music while we're watching like craziness take place?
Separating this crowd to the entrance of the courthouse. Of course, the emotions running high as we get into now just past 2:05 p.m. when we know members of the media were going to be allowed back inside the courtroom to hear what that verdict is. You know,
I'm going to pause this for a minute and we're going to try to like just make a small joke right now. When I was younger, I got pulled over by a cop who had a Stetson on in Tennessee. And I remember my friend, because I was going 10 miles over the speed limit. I'll be quick. I just got a new car. So I didn't even realize I was going 10 over. It was an accident. And he got out of the car and my friend was joking around. And she goes, oh, well, I'll flash him and get us out of this ticket, because we were in our early 20s. And I'm like, this man has a Stetson on. Don't you dare. I'm like, he'll be hauling us off to prison for that, or jail, And every time I see a cop with a Stetson, it's just like, I just feel like, that they mean business. If they have a Stetson on, just take your ticket, apologize, don't bother. He don't want to hear it. He don't care. He means business.
Tell you, when I first got here a few minutes ago, when we heard that a verdict was going to be announced, people were initially scattered out of the way, kind of standing under trees since it is so hot out here. When they heard that there was
reached, but I think we should probably reset. If you're just joining us right now as to what is going on right now, the jury started deliberating at 10:52 this morning, and at 2:05, they have now reached a verdict. We were waiting for that verdict to be announced. 2:07 right now. These things sometimes take some time. And things have certainly escalated outside of the Collin County Courthouse. You can see law enforcement out there trying to, keep everything calm, trying to get people away, it looks like, from the steps of the courthouse. But tensions are rising. At one point, we saw...
I'm going to run and get some water really quick, guys, but I'll let this play. I'm going to be super fast.
Two people very close to each other, exchanging some words, and we could hear yelling. Earlier, when we were on the noon show, Alex Boyer was outside of the courthouse, and he was saying that, he saw prayer circles. At one point, I think we were hearing someone chanting in the background and speaking. And so things have certainly escalated even within the last, I would say, 2 hours that he's been out there. And I'm sure once this verdict is announced, it will only get worse. But this, as you mentioned, Sean, this doesn't really help the situation here, right? The verdict is the verdict.
Right. It doesn't. And it could lead to even people having conflict with police out there and getting arrested out there because of their emotions. These moments are very tense and very intense, but you have to control your emotions in this moment. And so we have to watch that as well as watch what's happening in the courtroom. It's going to be coming down. If the jurors are back in, it could very well be that they're being polled individually, asking if the verdict is theirs and theirs alone. And then that'll be read by either the judge or the foreperson, what that verdict is.
And because this trial really has moved quickly, I kind of want to get into some of the developments that took place this morning. So the jury was able to consider manslaughter as a lesser charge to first-degree murder. Manslaughter is, just reckless killing, right? He did not, arguing that Carmelo Anthony did not intend to kill someone. He just happened to kill someone. Meanwhile, murder includes the intent, that this was deliberate. So the jury is having to decide between manslaughter as that lesser charge or first-degree murder. Now, as we talked about this earlier, the difference really is the maximum sentence, right? So for manslaughter, the maximum sentence is 20 years.
Wait, chat, hold on. What did I miss? Why are people saying no? No, let the riots begin, not in Texas. Laugh out loud, hope not happening. What happened? Chat, let me know what happened. What's going on?
For murder, first-degree murder, the maximum sentence is really life in prison. So Carmelo Anthony was facing between 5 years to 99 years in prison. During closing arguments, the state actually waived the right to open, so the defense went first. And so on Carmelo Anthony's side, his attorney, Mike Howard, argued that Anthony was invited into the tent by somebody he knew and that nobody had the right to use force to eject him in terms of, some of the witnesses have said he was pushed, he was shoved. They used different words to describe that physical altercation there. Attorney Howard also claimed that Anthony did not have the right to, the right to defend himself against somebody much bigger than him. That was something else that was brought up, was the difference in size between both of these 17-year-old boys. But prosecutor Bill Worski, he argued that Anthony showed up with a mindset that, which is why he had a knife with him. Prosecutors argued that self-defense is not a defense in this case because Anthony provoked Austin Metcalf into pushing him when he said, "Touch me and see what happens." So the question here is, was this self-defense or was this deliberate? Did he intend to do this? What happened here?
so,
That is what the
Maria.
jury is
We're
going to
ready.
have to
We're
decide
ready.
on. Or was this a case of manslaughter, as we just mentioned, the lesser charge that was presented this morning to the jury that they could also consider?
And in a case like this, you talk about Bill Worski waiving his opening opportunity in closing arguments. That's a strategic move, right? Prosecutors, because the burden of proof is on the state, they get to open, the defense makes its close, and then they get to rebut that. So I have the last word.
I'll turn that down
He
a little
wanted to
bit.
stack all of his time. So he deferred, if you will.
I think
Will
that
hold
they
argument, reserve it and
are
wait so he
prepared
could have this
for
powerful,
some
emotional
bad behavior.
plans closed,
I
which
think
is what
based
he
on the
did. That's what
days coming into
an attorney
this,
is supposed to do,
I'll
is
turn it
try
down
to
even
press their
more just so
claim
you guys don't feel
to the
weird.
jurors.
But the days going into this, it's been very.
I think I'm going to stop it, you guys. We can listen to it later on, because it's going to get crazy probably. But this trial, though, is similar to George Floyd, and with all the Israel stuff I shared at the beginning, they said Israel for last, so we got to be getting there. I don't know. But, so after dinner time at 7, and we'll play Newsforce. Come back and listen to Newsforce, lady. It's an hour video. And I got a 10-minute. Billy just came out again, but we'll play it later. So thanks, Mods. K, Carol, Lucy, Tim, Fine Eagle is working. Must be working. And everybody. And God bless everybody. Love all. Treat like. And stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, and never give up. Signing off tonight on Taco Tuesday. And we'll see you around 7. Chico Dude signing off.